Welcome to the Malt Miller YouTube channel. It's a few weeks away now from Christmas, and as usual, none of us have got a brew on.
That's right, folks. As ever, we've not been planned enough to get our festive brews done with plenty of time, and we kind of thought in the office the other day we really need to sort this out, and we're probably not alone. I'm sure there are a few of you out there that life has just got in the way and not been able to get your festive beer brewed in time for the big day.
Yeah, so we were having a chat in the office the other day, and actually we haven't left it too late. There's plenty of time to get a brew on. We just have to use some tips and techniques to get it on so it's done nice and quickly for that festive period. So let's take a look at the recipes we're going to brew. So what I like to drink during the festive period is something dark and stouty, but I've changed it up because I'm making a US Stout. So British Stout base, more or less, with loads of hops. And I'm just using Centennial right the way through. Centennial in the boil, whirlpool and dry hop.
Fantastic. Nice little bit of lemony note in there. Yeah.
Just dark malts and hops. Absolutely delicious.
Yeah, wonderful.
What are you doing, James?
Well, I'm following a similar vein. I'm brewing a porter, though. So I'm doing, I want a dark beer as well, but I want something with a bit of body, and I'm actually going a bit funky with this, okay? So just a little bit of a note on my grist first and foremost. I'm using 78% Marisota, and I'm using 4-6 Marisota. I'm using 400 grams of DRC from Simpsons. It's my favourite crystal malt. Going to bring some sort of stone fruit, dried fruit kind of flavours, raisins, plums. That's 7%. Then I've gone for 6.5% of Carafa 3 for colour, and 3.5% of brown malt as well, because I want some of those roasty textures and flavours in the beer as well. Hops wise, I'm using Bramlin Cross all the way through the boil. No dry hop on mine, I'm going traditional. I want the berry notes that you get from Bramlin Cross mixed in with the sort of raisin notes from the malt. And then in fermentation, I'm going to be adding some vanilla beans. So
in fermentation or afterwards?
Well, after fermentation. So my plan is to soak them in some rum, and then add that mixture of rum and vanilla into the beer.
Sound like a rum tincture.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, and you know, the grist itself will leave me with a beer that's about 5.3%, but adding the rum in will bump it up a little bit more. Now, adding the rum in will kind of potentially thin the beer out a little bit. So to combat that, I'm adding a touch of maltodextrin as well. So I'm adding 250 grams of maltodextrin into the boil to leave me with some unfermentable sugars. So my final gravity will be sort of 10-13, 10-14, because I want body in this beer. I want it to be really satisfying to drink. And fermentation wise, I'm going with a thermotolerant strain from WHC. And you might be thinking I'm going to use high voltage for a clean fermentation. I'm not. I'm going to use Mango Madness.
Yeah, it's going to push that fruitiness. I'm doing exactly the same.
Yeah.
Because I want that sort of fruit forward feeling about the beer. I also want it to ferment super quick.
Yeah, me too. So Martin, what have you got on the cards today?
Mine might sound like a bit of a cop-out and like I haven't really thought about it, but basically, I love Russian River. This time last year I was in Russian River. I've got no bottles of Russian River at home. Andy Parker's new book, Modern Homebrewer, has the Russian River Blind Pig recipe.
Yeah.
You know, I bought this kit before like the start of October, and it's been kicking around. I've been wanting to brew it. I've made one attempt at brewing it because those recipes in that book are not the easiest to brew.
No.
I've had a drain pour version of it. So I'm hoping to get it right today and to get it right and do it quick. And I'm going to switch the yeast out to high voltage.
Yeah, good shout. I love high voltage for those fast fermentations.
Just checking you got your flies done up, James.
Right, well, my flies are definitely done up this week. Should we crack on and dough in? Because we've got to get moving.
Well done, Roberts.
we're done. Brew day's over. How was your brew day, Rob?
Loved it. I was dipping in and out of work the whole time, so yeah, it was a bit sort of a disjointed brew day, but loved it. It was really good.
Hit your numbers?
Yeah, more or less. I'm like 2 points short.
Okay. Martin, how was your brew day?
Pretty much the same, James. You know, in and out, doing a few different pieces of work throughout the day. And again, 2 points short, a little bit higher volume. Wasn't really paying attention when I put all my water in.
Had to boil it for a bit longer, didn't you?
Did a little bit, yeah.
It's all good. It's all good. My one went actually the opposite to you two. I went over my numbers.
You had to look it back, didn't you?
Yeah, and even with liquoring back, I'm over my numbers.
Oh.
So I was shooting for 10.54 and I'm at 10.60.
So it's an Imperial Porter.
It's going to be a big boy, yeah.
Okay.
I also mixed up my kind of rum vanilla tincture.
Mate, that smelled absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I'm going to leave that to now sit, infusing with the rum all the way through fermentation. Once that's done, pitch it in, leave it for a couple of days before I then package.
So what temperature are you fermenting at?
I'm at 27 on mine.
And you with yours?
I'm at 30.
Right.
And interestingly, I've like pitched 2 packets of the Mango Madness and fermenting under a tiny amount of pressure. See how that goes.
Yeah, I think we could come in, because it's Friday today, I think by Monday we could all pretty much be done with primary fermentation.
Well, I'm going to take mine home because it's warmer at home than it is in the warehouse over the weekend.
And we've only got 2 heat wraps.
So I'm going to stick it in the room where I've got the wood burner and put a big blanket around it and give it cuddles all weekend.
Blanket next to the fire.
Yeah.
It's going to sit there waiting for you to go and cuddle with it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, look, we'll be back shortly once fermentation's done, sampling our beers, and we'll let you know how they are.
So we're back, and it's just under 2 weeks
Yep.
since brew day.
Yep.
How did fermentation go, James?
Yeah, absolutely fine. Actually, we brewed on a Friday, and I think probably by the Monday, we were at terminal gravity. I did a couple of gravity checks. I checked on the Monday. Actually, it was the Tuesday because I was on holiday on the Monday.
Indeed.
It was my wife's birthday. So I did the gravity check on the Tuesday, and it was a little bit higher than I was expecting. So I left it another 24 hours, and it actually hadn't budged at all. So that was my final gravity, which we'll come on to in a bit when we talk about stats. But then I moved on to adding my vanilla rum infusion thing.
Oh,
I
amazing.
know that. Oh, it was just absolutely fantastic.
It's tempting just to drink that straight from the jar.
I might have had a little sample. It was divine. But yeah, that went in, and then we left it until kind of the Friday, moved it into keg, and then it's had a few days in keg conditioning.
Martin, how did you go on?
So very similar. You know, it was a Friday we brewed on. Sunday night, it pretty much looked like it was done. You know, the crowds had dropped off the top of the chubby because I took mine home to keep it really warm. Monday, did a reading, ran out of time, so then dry hopped it on the Tuesday. Left it on the hops for a couple of days. Added brow salt to try and clear it down. I'd already added clarity when I added the yeast.
Yeah.
Didn't start to drop very well, so basically then whacked it in the garage where it was really cold.
Yeah, it's been cold, yeah.
Yeah, you know, that was like 3-4 degrees.
Yeah.
Couple of days in the garage, still wasn't clearing. So what I did was literally kind of took it out the chubby because I wanted it off the hops and I wanted it off the yeast. I stuck it into a 20-litre ox bar because it's got that floating dip tube.
Yeah.
So I thought everything can just crash down. Whacked some more brow salt in there. Made sure there was no oxygen in there. Gave it a little shake around. Left it in the fridge.
Perfect. Well, mine was done by the Monday.
Yep.
2 packets Mango Madness, 30 degrees. In the Firmzilla, works an absolute treat.
It's worth noting actually, it's been really cold here whilst we've been doing this, and we're in the warehouse, and we had heat wraps round both of our fermenters. We struggled to get it quite at 30, so it was probably just under 30, certainly mine was, but yeah, they still ripped through fermentation.
I really liked your trick that you did with the box over the top. So that, you're heating a smaller area then,
Yeah,
you're containing that heat that's on the surface.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I fermented in the Firmzilla with the heat band round and the jacket on.
Yeah.
And that did an amazing job. So that was really good. So dry hopped on the Tuesday, kept them in there 3 days, and then dropped the temperature right down and done. Actually, I wanted to dry hop at that temperature, that higher temperature.
Yeah.
Don't want any hop creep. I want to know that it's done.
I think we should probably taste these beers, and then maybe we can take a look at some of the actual statistics we've ended up, because we all kind of didn't nail our numbers on brew day. You were both a couple of points under, and I was a few points over.
Yeah.
So let's see what the beers taste like, and then we'll have a look at some of the numbers that we've actually achieved.
Come on, let's get trying.
don't get excited. I'm afraid the bottle is empty.
Yeah.
I just kind of brought this in to kind of reminisce about.
Is that the one I brought back for you?
Certainly is, Rob.
I'm really excited to try this, Martin, because I've had Pliny a few times, because it's definitely Pliny and not Pliny. Actually, when you came back from the States, you brought us all a couple of bottles of both beers back, Blind Pig as well, and that was the first time trying it. I thought it was absolutely stunning. So I'm really looking forward to trying this clone, mate.
Well, let's have a look at it first. What do we think of the presentation of it?
The clarity is on point.
That brow soul's what it's treating it. That is really nice.
Such a good product.
Like 2 weeks in, done. It looks absolutely great. That head's kind of clinging to the glass. It's nice.
Comes back as well.
Yeah,
It's a nice light colour, which is what you're kind of expecting from Russian River now.
Yeah.
Nose, let's have a sniff.
Let's have a sniff. Oh,
Smells full on, mate. It smells full on.
Piney.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Like dank resin.
Yeah.
You know, but not so thick that it's like not inviting. You know.
Yeah, that dankness like really continues in and the pine, it's like West Coast, absolutely shouting West Coast.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
That's really good.
And using high voltage.
Well, I touched on it earlier. I've attempted this recipe a couple of times because they're not easy in that book, and I had the recipe kind of before the book was published because I put them on the site.
Yeah.
So I was trying it, didn't manage to get it right. I had a couple of drain pours. This one, this I could have drunk it after 7 days. Didn't give as much care and attention to as the previous versions. Look at it. This is absolutely brilliant.
But it's really interesting because you brewed it with the high voltage, but I'm not getting any of that kind of flavour that you would associate with those type of yeasts. It's actually it's actually done, in this case, it's actually done what it was supposed to do. It's nice and clean.
It's really clean. Every time I've used high voltage, it's been clean.
Yeah.
You know, you don't get some of those sort of intense, pithy citrus notes that people associate with like those higher temperature Kvike strain type yeasts.
I think you have to choose the right beer style to put it into. It's not suited. If you're trying to create something that's hazy and fruity, it ain't that yeast.
No.
This is for clean. You want a West Coast, you want a lager. That's where it really does its job.
Yeah.
And you've got to also pitch the right amount, use the right temperature, make sure you use nutrients.
Oh, the nutrient on that yeast is massively important.
Well, actually, all of those thermotolerant yeast strains, because they just munch through stuff so quickly, they need it to keep going.
Yeah.
I mean, the other thing I would touch on that I really did learn with this, I've been using the Oxbar 8s for a while. That 20, the fact that I was able to put a murky beer into the 20 with a floating dip tube, leave it for a few days while we went off to Germany, and then transfer it out of that into this, knowing I've got no sediment in this. This is all bright beer.
Yeah.
I can take this wherever I want.
Yeah, well, you're not, because I want to take it home with me.
Not a chance, mate.
Right then, fellas, here you go. Here is my Imperial Porter.
Oh, not sure Imperial.
I don't know. It's
Big old porter.
yeah, big porter.
But this has got rum and vanilla in it, yeah?
Yeah. Let's have a look at it first. I mean, you can't see through it, but it's not murky either.
No, it's
Dark.
not.
Yeah.
Dark, like a dark thing.
Yeah. Dark and bright all at the same time.
It actually presents really, really nicely.
That colour of that head.
Yeah.
and creamy.
Yeah.
It's like crema on the top of espresso, isn't it?
Yeah.
Going for a smell.
I can smell booze, and I can smell vanilla. So that's done the trick.
Yeah, there is a touch of roastiness in there. It's malty. It's boozy. Yeah, right.
Oh, it's thick, isn't it? Oh,
It's cut body in half, isn't it?
oh, that's lovely.
Yeah, but it ain't cloying at all, is it?
No. It slips down.
Yeah, it's smooth.
Like chocolate
Oh, I
milkshake.
love the way that the vanilla's coming through. It's not an aggressive flavour, but it's there because it can be like sickly if it's over, but it's
You've
not.
got maltodextrin in this.
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
That's giving it
250
that.
grams. Body, right? Smoothness.
Oh, I'll tell you what, you were trying to create a beer that you can drink over Christmas, and I'll tell you what, that is like really properly hitting the spot. That.
Right, let's just zoom out from waxing lyrical about it for a moment, and I used Mango Madness. Now, I want you to go back in and just ask yourself if you get any fruit from it at all.
because it's not, it's not the type of beer style that you would automatically use that yeast for, is it?
No,
At all.
no.
You know, it's just.
I wanted to accentuate things like the raisin and berry kind of notes from the Bramlin Cross and the DRC.
Do you know what? I don't know whether I can do that, but what it is a freaking lush beer. That is so tasty.
It's great, isn't it?
Really good.
Yeah.
It's just got really nice balanced roastiness with that body that just helps it slip down. So easy. How strong is this?
Well, I guess we'll find out when we have a look at the stats in a minute. I think
Too easy drinking.
we should probably put all three of these through the Easy Den Smart Ref check and see exactly where we came out.
Yeah.
Right, your turn now, Robert.
Go on then. Right, here we go. American Stout, Centennial, all the way through.
Yeah, let's have a quick look at how it looks. Again, very similar to my one in terms
Yeah, the
of-
head's not as tight, is it?
No,
No.
but in terms of like clarity, it's a bright, dark beer. But yeah, the head's like funny, isn't it? It's quite sort of, I don't know, bubbly. Yeah. Let's go for a smell.
It's definitely got some hops in it.
Yeah, it's
Got
But
hops
it's
in
also
it.
got
Like a floraliness, like a citrusy.
well, it was
lemony.
Centennial, wasn't it?
yep, but really floral.
Yeah. Oh, it's bitter as well, isn't it?
Very dry after having had your beer.
Yeah, it is. And almost black IPA style.
Yeah, I think you're definitely verging on that territory.
Yeah.
Rather than a stout, it's not got enough body really.
It hasn't got the body that I was expecting. It hasn't got the body of what I was hoping my finishing gravity to be either.
Yeah, okay. I mean, we've just come from a beer that's like thick and smooth and creamy to this, which is very different.
It is very different.
I think we probably should have tried them in a different order. Now being here, you
This
know,
should have sat in the middle of mine and yours, because this is kind of like in between with that big hop hit.
yeah, I mean, it is incredibly hoppy.
That Centennial dry hop is really that's a big hop. It's a big hit of dry hop.
And you had a big whirlpool as well.
Yeah.
Would have picked up IBUs there.
Yeah.
Is it like
But it's not just bitter. Actually, it's dark malt bitterness as well. It's not just like hot bitterness in there. Well, I'm not entirely sure that's a massive hit. It's a different beer. It's right at the moment. I think it's possibly too bitter.
Yeah, maybe a bit young.
Maybe a bit young.
Yeah.
I think that perhaps what we were trying to do was produce a drinking beer, like really quickly. I think this one might need to just settle out a little.
sit in the corner.
It might sit in the corner for another week or so.
Why don't you try throwing some wood chips in it as well? Oak it up.
Actually, I might just completely, change it up.
I can't say right now whether I'd be able to drink tons of it around the fireplace over Christmas.
Not
No,
your best
it's not.
beer.
It's not the big hit that I was really expecting it to be.
You know what it's missing, Rob?
Come on, then. What's that? So, what?
Rum and vanilla.
Rum and vanilla.
Maltodextrin.
No, smoke malt.
Oh God, no.
So we've done with tasting our beers, and rather than just listen to our musings, we thought we'd get a little bit more analytical. So we've put all three beers through the Easy Dens and the Smart Ref to actually see what our numbers came out at. Martin, start with you.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, when I was brewing, I kind of took readings. It said I was way over, so I kind of had to boil it a little bit longer. My final outcome, it flickered between 6.1 and 6.
Yeah.
So and I was aiming for 5.9. So, I'm quite happy with that. There's a heavy dry hop in this. I've only ended up with about 17.5 litres on a 20-litre batch.
Okay, right. And your actual final gravity was what?
I was aiming for 10.15. I got 10.16.
Right, okay, yeah, pretty much on the button. And, that presented in the glass where we were trying it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice. And how does that vary in terms of ABV against the real thing?
Oh, I'd have to check the bottle. You got your glasses on, Bob?
No, but I can have. I think it's supposed to be
6.25 it should be.
Okay.
And you came in at what, 6.1?
6.1.
Yeah, nice. Well, that's, in the ballpark, isn't it?
That'll do. Nice good, easy drinking beer that'll see you through the night.
Right, so I overshot my numbers on brew day and actually I had to look it back as well. I ended up with a full 19 litre corny, and I was my starting gravity was 1060 and I finished at 1019. So having put it through the Anton Par, it said that I'm at 6.1%, which actually is pretty much where I wanted to be. I wanted it to be a big porter, but that body at 1019 is
that is
like,
absolutely delicious.
Yeah. But it's not so much, is it, that it's too thick and cloying. You could sit there and drink a pint of it and probably go back for some more.
Did you take a reading of it before you put the rum in?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So that obviously has been skewed a little bit by the rum addition. 1060 down to 1019. I couldn't work it out off the top of my head, but that probably wouldn't get you to 6%. The rum will have given it a little
Push.
Yeah. What about you, Rob?
Well, actually, the interesting thing about mine was I was aiming for a higher finishing gravity than I actually got. So I got more attenuation, which might account for the body.
Yeah.
Obviously, will account for the body. So mine actually finished at 1016, and I was aiming for a finishing gravity of like 1021.
Yes.
So yeah, I attenuated more than I want to. Could be the dry hops.
Yeah. And dry hops, but also we're using yeasts that can attenuate really quite high.
Yeah.
I mean, we all brewed on grain fathers. We know we were managing our mash temperatures really well. So it's unlikely that it's anything to do with that. It's like you say, more likely to be to do with the dry hop or the yeast just being super hungry.
Yeah. So it ended up at 6.1%. That's the figure. So I think it's a fantastic experiment that we've done, brewing beers quickly and not particularly the styles that you would automatically say brew quickly.
Yeah.
And we've definitely had two massive hits being able to do that. Mine's missed the mark somewhat. I think in a couple of weeks' time, that will be tasting much better.
If you were going to re-brew it, having tasted it now, are there things you might do a little bit differently, do you think? Because we always say that brewing is like cyclical. You can learn from it when you go to re-brew it.
Would you still go with the same amount of dry hop you went with, or the kettle edition?
No, I would probably cut the kettle edition down. At the moment, it's too bitter for the amount of body in the beer. So when I recalculate the recipe, I need to take account for that. Cutting out the Whirlpool edition or bringing it down slightly will definitely help.
Yeah.
But I want something in there to keep that body. The actual basis of that beer is really, really good. More body would make it. That's.
Yeah, maybe like a bigger chunk of oats, or maybe I can lend you some maltodextrin.
That might work.
Change your mashing temperature, maybe, or
Yeah, mate. I can't go too much higher. Well, actually, that being said, we're now mashing beers at 72, so actually I can go a lot higher. So yeah, that could possibly work. But yeah, it needs a little bit of thinking about, and the actual basis of the beer is kind of in the direction that I want it to go.
Yeah.
It's just not as full on as I wanted it to be in some directions. So the basis of actually what we were trying to do is to see if we can get a beer turned around quickly when we've all sort of delayed brewing a little bit, and we're trying to get beer ready for a certain event. And this time it was Christmas, but it could be any event. And I think actually you two have proved that actually you can do that really well.
my recipe, it's one of our own recipes that's on the website already. All I simply did was order the kit, get a different yeast, and turn it around in a lot faster time.
Yeah.
So you could do that with so many of the recipes on our site, and we've shown that you can use those yeast, various different styles, not just the ones that you associate with them.
And there's so many yeasts now that are available that can do that, right? And not even the thermotolerant or Kvike strains, but I've been brewing at home with Panoma from Lallemand, and that's ripping through fermentation as well.
Mate. Yeah.
There's loads of ways to do it, and I love that you could maybe look at your favourite recipe that maybe takes 2 or 3 weeks. Just switch the yeast out from one of these, give it a go. Now, Martin's recipe is obviously available already as part of the recipe section that we've got for all of the recipe kits in CAMRA's The Modern Homebrewer section that we've been kindly given through the work we've been doing with CAMRA for the book. My recipe will be available on the website as well. There'll be a link down below for you to follow so that you can brew my vanilla rum porter. Rob's recipe.
Well, it's not quite up to scratch yet, so that's definitely not going on the website quite yet, but when I perfect it, you can buy it. This has been a brilliant, fun experiment that all three of us have actually carried out. I hope you've really enjoyed it. Don't forget there's stacks of content on our YouTube channel, so please subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and also check out our other content on all our other social platforms. Have a great brew.